All right, we are live. Testing 1 2. Testing.
I'm alive.
If you use a voice like that, you're going to be dead.
Number 5 is alive.
You ate your black cow dessert while I was doing all the prep, so I'm going to sit here and eat that.
Sucks to be you, Peter. I already ate my black cow. What?
Yeah, black cow
Why?
it's like a root beer float, but instead of using root beer, you use Coke.
It's okay. Google's not
the fine white powder that makes you think that you can fly and do other stuff that you really can't do.
I actually can fly.
Outside of an airplane
Yes.
and a glider.
No.
That's what I thought.
In a jet.
Could you fall with style?
I can, actually. Lots of style.
But if you fall
It's
through
in
the
the
atmosphere,
when I fall.
if you fall through the atmosphere and Michael Jordan isn't there to do a cartoon-based movie that uses a song about you flying, did it really happen?
I feel like you forced that joke way too much.
Are you saying that I raped the joke?
More like you were the pimp forcing the joke to be raped.
Yeah, but it's not rape if you yell surprise right before the joke. Surprise!
That was after the joke. Rape happened.
But I'm traveling down the timeline non-linearly, so for
You're
me
not
it was.
the doctor. It's more of a wibbly wobbly, timey wimey kind of thing. Timey wimey, not windy.
Timey-wimey.
No.
Timey-wimey.
Nope.
It's not timey-whiny. Time doesn't whine.
Yeah, it does. All the
No, it
time.
doesn't. Listen, I'm enjoying this dessert, but you may end up wearing it.
I'm really tired. Really.
Okay, so
No
the
function
topic-
of brain.
the topic of this discussion.
Topic. What's gonna be the topic?
This is not.
Topic. We need a topic.
You know what I'm going to do? If you don't stop this nonsense chicanery, you are going to be the replacement for Blue's Clues. Like, there was Steve, and then there's Joe, and then there's whoever it is right now. You're going to be the next one.
Joe number 2.
That's right.
V2 like a rocket.
Okay, so the topic for today is life principles.
Life principles.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who are principles for life.
Like, generally people tend to operate by a base set of philosophies which govern their life.
Yep.
And for a lot of people, these are unspoken. And because they're unspoken, because they never actually defined them, they tend to fluctuate rather quickly and easily, and be very, very situationally dependent. However, people who are more deliberate about how they live their life, people who tend to be, people who you would consider very strong in character, will often have a very core set of principles by which they live their life. A set of principles that they do not bend on, no matter what.
Even if they're into yoga.
Well, that kind of person does not deserve to live. So we're going beyond that. But so the question is what are some of the principles by which you govern your life? It's a very open-ended question.
Really?
Yes.
Principles by which I govern my life.
Mm-hmm.
Always shake twice.
It's very good. That's more of a practicality than a principle, but continue. By the way, there are a lot of men who are not taught that. There are a lot of men who think it's okay to go to the bathroom and then not wash their hands.
I don't have a problem with that if it's right after they shower, actually. Because really the only germs there, if you don't touch the handle, is sweat. Well, bacteria forming into it. So
Right, but
don't have a problem with that if it's
for those of you who do not know why that's an issue, in certain parts of Africa, there are tribes, or were tribes, and some, so that would make traps by digging a pit in the ground and putting spears in the bottom facing upwards, and these spears were covered in feces. Now the thing is the feces wouldn't kill the person, but the infection resulting from the feces would kill them. And the thing is that bacteria exists on the human body from the lower thigh to about the waist, especially in the crotchal butt area. And so if you go to the bathroom, you are contaminating your hands with the same bacteria that African tribesmen use to kill people via infected bamboo stick. And so maybe you should wash your hands.
How do you know this?
You gutless barbarian.
What do you research? This is like the time I need a really weird fact in the quiz bowl.
That was a reference that no one guessed.
I get it. Like this time, I was asked about which Indian, what's the name of the dance that Indians would perform by dancing around a pole with ropes attached, I think, at the top of the pole to little bones that were stuck in their body.
That does not sound like something that I know.
And they would dance around said pole until the bones came out of their body, like they were like entwined, like kind of like, I guess, putting a needle through clothing, but they were small bone needles, I guess. I'm not totally sure.
They would rip it out of their bodies?
Like it was other bones that they inserted into the side of their skin, and it was attached to a rope or string that was hanging on the top of this large column, and they would dance around it until it ripped out.
That doesn't sound attractive.
And I knew the title of that.
What is the title of that?
I believe it's the Sundance, if I remember correctly.
That is really not the bone dance or the
No,
the cat of nine tails makes a visit to the Indian tribes in a weird way.
You know what the worst part about that is? I'm pretty sure I learned that around second grade in school.
Okay.
Because the person's like, that is correct, but I don't really want to know how you know that. And I was
really
like, school. Yeah, she was kind of disgusted reading the question. I was like, this is something I think I know. It was like one of those questions where like the answer pops into your head, but it's like, how did that get there? Am I sure that's really the answer?
That means there's like a deep, dark part of your mind that you don't actually have access to. It just like pops up every once in a while with a piece of information. It's like, hi, just to remind you that I exist and to creep you out. Then it just disappears again.
I think it was just something that so emotionally scarred me as a child. I remembered it and held on to it. I can remember the image of my teacher telling me about that. And I think there were pictures. Not like realistic pictures, but like cartoon pictures of Native Americans running around a pole.
Okay, so in totally related topics, when did you like realize that men and women had sex? At what age?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
Because I know.
You know, like the moment?
Yes.
It was probably because of you guys talking about vaginas and penises.
No.
That I learned.
I'm pretty sure not.
That I learned or that you learned?
Well, I knew about, I had the birds and the bees, ew. I
apologize. Get over it.
I had the birds and the bees discussion with my dad at age 5.
What? Wow.
At age 5.
Do you even know
what
penis was?
Get this. While we were moving from California to the state.
I thought you said he never had that. I thought I heard he never had that conversation with you till like you were 18 or 19.
No.
And it was extremely awkward because you already knew everything.
No, it was definitely age 5.
How do you even like? Did you even know what a penis was at the time? You're like, the funny thing in my diaper.
No, but all I remember is like my dad talking about how like sex and when a man loves a woman very much, and like I'm on the passenger side of the cab, just like shrinking away, kind of like just staring at the door, going like, I'm not sure what this is, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I actually don't remember when I was told about that. I really don't.
I actually had a friend.
I might have figured it out on my own.
I had a friend who I'm not going to name because of reasons, who had the birds and the bees talk in middle school, and see, he didn't know. He's going to kill me when I find, but I haven't associated his name to it. So if he hears it, he can't beat me up because then he will have outed himself as being that person. Actually, no, he has told it in public anyway. So but
Just say it.
he had a boner in class in middle school, and he didn't know what it meant. And he was like, "Oh, this must be a natural thing for everybody." So like, he has to go to the bathroom. So he's not have to go to the bathroom, whatever. He stands up and just walks out the door. Like, you get me. And
Wow.
so, the class is rather silent because most guys instinctually know, like, hey, maybe not have raging boner there for everyone to see. And so later that day, like, his friend had to take him aside and be like, hey, so I need to explain some things to you.
Do I know this person?
You may or may not have met this person or heard me talk. You, if I say the person's name, you would recognize the person's name.
Have I met them?
Not in person.
No. Nick.
No. No, don't just say random names, dipshit.
I remember the first time I had a boner in school.
That's nice.
I was like, oh, awkward. Luckily, it was like we weren't doing anything, and there was 15 minutes before class ended, so I'd have to like wait there, waiting for it to stop. Yeah.
There are ways to like you if you wait.
I
Did
was
you?
forcing you to stop. I had tight pants though. It sucks. It's like the worst thing ever. You're like, no, please don't feel the tightness. No.
Well, see, no. The thing is with the tight pants, if you get the penis so it's like sticking straight out and like not like to the side, the tight pants will kind of like push it down. Whereas if you have loose pants, they'll just move out of the way for the boner to fully.
Well, I was sitting
To
down.
fully reach skyscraper status.
That's just weird. I think I figured out, like, I didn't know how sex worked for a long time, but I think I figured it out on my own that men and women did something to have babies. Like, I wasn't like that idiot who was like, how do babies happen? I was kind of like, oh, mom and dad, babies. Okay.
Okay, so there's a website called fml.com.
Wow. We're
What?
going there.
Yeah, this is what's funny is I just remember this one person put up a story. It's like me and my girlfriend tried to have sex. Well, weren't sure how. So after an hour of being totally naked, just laying on top of each other, we finally gave up, embarrassed, and like put our clothes back on. Well, they got about 20% of the way. Well, they didn't know anything about like foreplay or kissing or any of that stuff. Makes me wonder if they're like 13 or something.
Possibly. If, like, you didn't have a boner at the time. Which it doesn't sound like you did if they were laying on top of each other.
No. It is possible to be naked with a woman who is attractive and not have a boner whatsoever.
If you're like hyped up on porn.
No.
Porn induced.
No, just like if you feel really awkward or you're unsure or like you never like you're not allowing yourself to react to their beauty because like you're distracted or whatever.
They were trying too hard.
They were. It was trying too hard and then you couldn't get hard.
Yeah.
It's quite literally irony. It's not literally iron. Yeah, it's literally.
It wasn't iron.
There was no iron involved, but it was. Anyways, so principles of life.
By the way, talking about principles of life, do you know where the word integrity comes from?
From the word integral?
Integras, actually.
Well, screw you.
Apparently it was like when I was reading about this the other day. Apparently, Roman soldiers would line up for an inspection, and so that the commander would know that they were fit for duty, they would have to beat their chest with their fist so that the commander could hear the armor and hear that it was taken care of and properly maintained. and at the same time yell out the word integris, or however you say the word, because so that the commander could hear that the person wasn't sick. And that's actually where integrity comes from.
Oh, I like that.
It actually has to do with like being strong.
So basically, girls don't have integrity.
Well,
men can be in that.
Debatable.
Misogyny.
Actually, that reminds me of a TEDx talk. It always comes back to TEDx talks.
TEDx sucks.
This is
I hate TEDx.
There's actually some interesting
There's
stuff
a couple
on TEDx.
good ones, but most of them are
this is actually very interesting.
Not useful at all.
And something I've never thought of before, and it's actually about the story of David and Goliath and how we get it wrong.
It was a giant porno, wasn't it?
No, my point is,
David won because he was the last one to die.
Everyone looks at David and Goliath. According to this, I think he was Jewish and he had discovered this. He said that everyone looks at the story of David and Goliath wrong. They see this kid who's got no chance whatsoever, no skill at all, going up against this giant, and it's only like a miracle that he wins.
Okay.
But apparently, historians actually think that first of all, he had an unfair advantage. He was a slinger, which is a highly effective weapon
at distance,
against an infantryman. And he had practice with it. He wasn't just a kid who's like, oh, sling, rock.
No, he was like in his 20s.
Practice with it. And he goes up to Goliath, and Goliath says, come to me that I might smite you. Which, I guess he said that historians think Goliath was blind and didn't realize until David got close to him, or had trouble seeing, and didn't realize until David got close to him that he wasn't an infantryman, he was actually a slinger, and it was actually a plea for David to come closer so that he could attack him with the type of combat that he was good at.
Well, how do they know he was blind? Is that just conjecture?
It is, but it's based.
Sounds like total conjecture.
It's not. It's actually based off of. They think he might have had a condition that caused him to be taller, which also causes bad vision, and I don't know all that. I guess so.
That would be called.
But I thought it was interesting.
I mean,
because it kind of paints the story in the light of that you have, like, God uses the skills you have.
Right. I although that seems a little bit off because, not that from a historical perspective that's not plausible. I'm just thinking to myself, okay, why would they pick a guy who's half blind to fight?
Fear. Plus, it's not necessarily that he's half blind, it's that he couldn't see far enough for David to know David was an infantryman. Obviously, he could see him when he was up close.
Right.
But he couldn't see him when he was farther away.
Yeah.
So as an infantryman, he was expecting people to come and fight him hand to hand, not for a little punk kid to come up with
a punk kid is like mid-20s probably. I don't think you would call that kid.
They look 220. So, kid.
Listen, punk. I will smite the crap out of you.
I like it.
Anyways, principles.
Brother on brother.
We were talking about you
made up the name.
Contain yourself there, Sonny. All right, so
guiding principles.
Guiding principle.
I actually, I don't know if I've ever made a set guiding principle. I try not to complain about things I can't control. And
okay.
I'd rather just try to fix them, and if I can't fix them, just deal with life in a way that makes me able to get past them.
So realism and accepting reality for what it is, and not stressing yourself about things that you can't control.
Yes, for the most part. Stress still happens, but I try to push it aside. But
do you meditate?
I actually have before, and it's actually amazing how much better you like. I wasn't like really meditating. I was just kind of clearing my thoughts, which I guess is the definition, for about 30 minutes before I went to bed. And I don't think I've ever had a deeper sleep and a more relaxing sleep than those nights.
So do you do that every night now?
No, kind of hard to. I stopped because of the trip to Norway.
You're no longer in Norway.
I know this, and I find it hard to do now. Well, when I was in Norway, I guess I kind of did the same thing. Only for the most part, I was walking at night when I did it through the cities, which was pretty
Right.
awesome. And I recommend if you go to a country where it's safe enough to do so, walking through the cities at night. Norway seemed like one of those countries, and it's really safe. So I don't know if any other country is that safe, but it seemed pretty safe. I wouldn't do that in New York. Harlem.
I've done walking the street at night in New York, but like there was 5 of us
In a college town?
in New York City.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, you're dumb.
in like Manhattan.
Did you have a gun?
No,
That's
no,
not-
oh my god, no. No, sorry. You can only
Slingshot?
carry a gun in New York, a handgun in New York, if you have to get a carry conceal license. In order to get a carry conceal license or even a open carry license, you need to prove beyond. I think it's either beyond reason. There's some, I forget what the metric is, but you have to prove that you are legitimately in fear for your life. And so I'm not, so I can't.
Hmm.
And I know that's true for New York City. It may actually be true of all New York.
I live in New York City. I'm in fear for my life.
So like you go to the judge, is like, what reason do you have to
I
be in
live-
fear of your
yes,
life? Do you see what's around me, man? Do you understand? Have you walked down those streets, man? They are dirty. I could like trip, and I would like I wouldn't have to worry about people. I would have to worry about like falling and landing on like a dirty heroin needle. And then some contractor would screw me out of like a building thing, and then the building would collapse on me. And then I would like crawl my way out of the wreckage of the building, and then I get mugged by a homeless person, specific by who is hopped up on heroin, from which landing on the dirty heroin needle occurred.
And he mugged you because you smelled like heroin.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No, he mugged you to get money for heroin.
But he smelled the heroin in your body,
It's
seeping through your pores.
that's very highly sensitive. That's like a heroin hound.
Well, I feel actually, interestingly enough, I was reading an article on AOM, Art of Manliness, awesome website, about the Sue's Guide to situational awareness, and they said that when you're out in nature, your senses
Increase.
increase. Yeah,
Yeah,
like your
there's less
sense of
stimuli.
feeling, smelling, taste. I actually have a theory. I mean, well, taste doesn't really matter, but I mean, taste wouldn't really change. I have a theory that the reason snakes like get mad at us is because we wear shoes, and our feet don't absorb. Like whenever we land on the ground, it makes more of a vibration and freaks them out more. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I do think that slightly increases it.
That's it. That's yeah. Gotcha.
I agree, and it's totally science based on one walk in the woods I had once.
You're basic. And did you meet? You might want to see a doctor.
This garter
and
snake
stop
ran
taking-
away.
You might
And
want
it
to stop
grew
taking
legs
LSD
and ran
before
away.
you go and walk through. The
I was
forest.
not on LSD. Okay, speed is a different drug.
Whatever. I'm just saying
Principles,
that might be hurting your ability to
comprehend things.
comprehend and cognize what.
I actually do feel
going
though
on in
that
the
people
world.
miss like a lot of the enjoyment of walking because of shoes. Like I actually enjoy different textures underneath my feet when I walk barefoot. I'm serious.
I'm sure, but also that's really weird.
It's not that weird.
What do you feel about the texture of dog crap?
It's squishy.
Just checking.
It feel like mud, except smell bad.
I didn't want to know that answer actually.
It's logical. I mean, it's either like mud or hard dirt. What do you
Are
think
you
it would feel
speaking
like?
from experience here?
You've never stepped in mud and poop with bare feet.
No.
You don't even need to step in it with bare feet. You could step in mud with the shoe and mud and
I might have stepped on it.
You know it feels sick.
I might have gotten like one toe once when I was like in elementary school. Not recently.
You're pathetic. What type of Pennsylvanian are you?
One who looks where he walks, apparently.
So do I. Doesn't mean I always look where I walk.
You're not. If we ever go to war, you are not allowed to navigate the minefield. That's all I'm saying.
If we ever go to war, I'll be more used to walking through the woods barefoot and be able to keep a quieter profile.
You would be wearing boots, dude.
No.
Yeah, after the 20th mile, you'd be wearing boots.
No.
Yes.
Through the woods?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
I'm glad you agreed with me.
You totally blanked for a second there. You're like, yes.
I was like, is he really gonna try to pull the reversal? Yes.
Yeah, right.
That's
You're
why.
like,
That's what.
yes. Yes.
Dude, I have an IQ of 120. I don't brag about it much.
Oh,
But
I have an IQ that's actually now the average.
it's not the average.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
100 is the average.
You're 100.
No, I'm 26.
100.
Am I 100 in your eyes? 100%.
Out of like 10 million.
Now you're just trying to be insulting.
I'm not trying.
You are trying.
Anyway, where were we?
Your mom.
Once upon a time, yes, we were.
Principles. Apparently, this man has very few. I'll tell you about a principle that I kind of had to violate recently, which you don't know this. I signed up for EBT and Medicare or Medicaid,
I hate you.
like just this past
You're
week.
no longer my brother.
See what I have to do.
Go die.
No, look, I have because of my past work history, I have had I think 3 or 4 separate opportunities based on my employment to sign up for government assistance. I never have, out of the principle of I believe that welfare should be kept only for those who really, really need it. And even if a person is able to technically get on welfare, that they should not get on it unless they actually need it. Like if you can survive without it, then you should survive without it.
And you need it.
Yes.
Or
Because there's a medication I take for ADD, and it's like the level of ADD where like imagine being the absent-minded professor to like a level that is maddeningly persistent, like constantly making mistakes that you don't want to make because things just blank out in your minds, like forgetting the names of things, forgetting what you were doing, like literally like I'll be in a car and I'll have certain items in the car that I want to bring inside, and like that whole thing where like you go to the car and you want to bring something with you and then like you forget it until you get into the car. You do like the double take thing. Well, people joke about that, and it's like, every once in a while that happens. That's like literally every single day.
that sucks.
It's like to the point where it is legitimately angering that it is this hard to function
Checklists.
because there's like literally, but it's like constantly changing. But like
you need is a John Watson.
anyways, the point is that there's a medication I'm taking. No, it's not Adderall. I'm not going to touch that stuff. But the pills, it's like $3 a pill.
Yeah.
So a refill is $400.
Mm-hmm.
You think I can't see what you're doing out of the corner of my eye?
The eyes don't have corners.
Anyways, I cannot afford both the medication and eating at the same time.
You know what?
And I got on the medication in the first place because my ADD was so bad that I almost got fired from the previous job that I had.
AstraZeneca may be able to help.
I'm gonna punch you. Punch you.
One of my life principles.
Ask if punching siblings is right for you.
One of my life principles. Are you done yet?
I'm just curious. Let me finish.
Okay.
My point is I only got on it because in order to keep my job, I have to have the medication. And in order to have the medication, I have to have some sort of assistance because I cannot afford to eat and clothe myself and have the medication at the same time.
Yeah, that would
If
suck.
it makes you feel any better, I'm not going to do the stereotypical thing that people do on EBT cards, which is like they buy all steak and frozen dinners and candy and
So you're gonna
soda.
buy just steak?
No, actually,
Buy a cow.
it's literally going to be bulk chicken and rice and beans and tortilla. It's Mexican. It's Mexican food, which is actually what I eat anyways when I don't have enough money because I know how to eat cheap and also survive. So even though I have to somewhat break the principle, well, not, I mean, I actually do need it, but like, you know, the idea of not being reliant on anyone else, I'm still trying to honor the idea of not taking advantage of it because, you know, I don't want to go against my own principles, because then if I do that, then, you know, who I am is no longer a solid thing. It's just, you know, whatever happens in the moment. Okay, your turn.
Well, I was gonna say one of my life principles is people should be able to laugh at whatever they want to, whenever they want to. Obviously, that comes with a caveat.
Like-
You should
like-
be respectful.
Ha ha ha, like that.
If it's actually
Ha
humorous,
ha.
like you should be able to find
Right,
humor in horrible situations.
I am. Your face.
It's pretty funny, isn't it? I mean, there's this gigantic nose, and I'm not even Jewish.
I know. Well, it's not hooked enough for you to be Jewish, anyways.
True. Plus, I'm somewhat related to the people who killed the Jews.
That's kind of.
But I'm also related to the people that saved the Jews. So,
That's true.
not sure how I feel about you people.
Well, no, because we have.
That being said, I
Well-
love musicals. So, you got my
Fag.
vote. Sondheim. I actually don't know like any songs by Sondheim.
This is the guy who. Really?
He's the guy who did Sound of Music, didn't he? No, maybe? I don't know. Famous composer.
I'm not going to say anything for
Oh.
fear of sounding ignorant.
I know. Oh crap! Who's the guy? I can't remember. Believe I don't know him. The guy who did.
We're going to need to change the topic real fast here.
We're so dumb. It's been a while since I've been into music.
Maybe I was
They're
right.
awesome.
My IQ might be 12.
I just don't get how anyone could hate someone who's that good at making profits. That's what I don't get. Like
People hate the Waltons.
Yeah, but that's because Walmart sucks.
No, it's because no. The reason why this is the reason why people hate Walmart. It's because it believe it or not, it has nothing to do with. I don't think it has to do with the atmosphere, which is kind of bad. I think it has to do with the fact that it's a giant corporation, and
It's
the
actually
Waltons, the children, are shitty people.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with like I mean, if they're crappy people, they're crappy people.
No, I think that's it.
I've like lost my original point.
I'm just
I'm
saying,
so tired. There's a train and it just blacked out.
just disappeared into the mist.
Derailed and there's another train.
It
that just
disappeared
went,
into the mist.
and there were zombies that attacked it.
You know, if there's a new TV show about a girl who becomes a zombie
She's like part zombie or something like that.
and she eats the brains of deceased people and then gets their memories and then helps solve how they got killed.
Yeah, I heard about that. Apparently Christian likes it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a unique idea. I don't think I'm a fan.
His mom was like yelling at him at how messed up it was, and her logic
That's
was
pretty
pretty
messed
horrible.
up, I mean.
No. Her logic was pretty. She's like, that's not real at all. As she's watching, gosh, what show were they watching? They're watching. Dang it, what were they watching? There's
Good
a show
story,
they
bro.
watched. No, there's a show they watch. I can't remember what it's called.
Good
They're
story.
watching some fictional, like I think it was a sci-fi show, and it's like, really, you're
The
gonna tell him?
non-humans or whatever?
No, I can't remember what it was. It was like, really, you're gonna tell him that you can't, that you're mad, you're like annoyed that his show's not realistic, and you're watching this show? Like seriously?
Cool story.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yep.
Principles, Joe. Tell me
I
about
like
one.
stoicism
That is not. That's a philosophy.
of principles.
Yes. Ironically, very related to your original principle.
Yes. I actually find stoicism and Christianity seem to have a lot in common. Except I was actually thinking about this in the way here, except that Christianity could be better described as a stoic joy when fulfilled, when used, when believed properly.
A stoic joy.
Yes. Because the whole idea of stoicism is one is not moved by the things one can't control. Kind of thing.
And
At its like basic.
instead moved to
levels.
joy by the things that one cannot control.
Well, one is not moved from the state of joy
Okay.
by the things one cannot control.
You need to hand me a cough drop.
I can, sir.
We're gonna Marco Rubio this crap up right now. Don't throw it at me. Seriously?
Fail. You hit my microphone.
That's your fault for being a lousy toss.
You just call me a lousy toss.
Yes, you're a tosser.
That's so rude.
I have been sick now for 3 weeks, which is the longest. I swear
Maybe it's mono.
I've never been sick for this long. No, it's not mono. Mono. The symptoms are worse, but it doesn't suck for as long. It's just like constantly. I have to take cough drops and ibuprofen, or else my throat is so sore that I can't swallow. It's like gargling a pint of sawdust every morning. That's how I wake up.
That actually, I think that's happened to me before. So.
Really? You want to make out?
No, you can keep that to yourself.
It's a love disease, Joe.
That's why I know even if we did make out, I wouldn't catch it. So
no brotherly love?
No.
I can't believe
it's kind
it.
of like a Philadelphia love. I kind of love you, but I'd rather kill you.
You are on the wrong side of stoicism, my friend.
Yeah.
I think I can't trust you.
I do think it's interesting in the book Meditations, Marcus Aurelius says that one of his beliefs is that you shouldn't mock someone who has a ridiculous belief, but you should attempt to correct that belief.
I do not follow his advice.
I know you don't.
I don't.
But that's because you are always on Twitter and you're conversing with the same idiotic
It's a
beliefs all
lot
the
of
time.
fun.
It's different when you meet one-on-one with someone, but the problem is, I mean, personally, I think the problem with being on Twitter like that is that when you do meet with someone one-on-one, you're so used to having all these people bash you like that on the internet and attack you with the same stupid, idiotic thing that you can't really correct them in a kind way in real life.
No.
That's my only problem.
I disagree with that.
I don't, because I've had experience with you.
I'm sorry, but your family, I treat you differently no matter what, so screw you. No.
You treat me more like a jerk because I'm your family?
You are more of a jerk because of your family.
That's because I'm related to you and I love you the best.
Look, here's the thing, is that in terms of, on a psychological level, how you behave is set on a level, is based on a certain set of heuristics. When you're on Twitter, a certain pattern of behavior that your brain associates with Twitter emerges. When you're one-on-one, the pattern of behavior that is associated with you being one-on-one emerges. So it's quite possible for you to be a total egotistical, selfish asshole on Twitter and yet a kind, loving, understanding person in one-on-one situations. Which is true because I know for a fact that all the people who disagree with me are evil. And they can only be evil on Twitter, because if that number of people were evil in real life, then the U.S. would have ripped itself apart long ago.
And we haven't.
We're still in one piece. Except for that time way back when with that slavery deal. Just saying. Plus, on Twitter, the point of conversations is different than a one-on-one. When you're one-on-one, there's no public stake. In other words, you don't lose public face by admitting that you're wrong or by self-criticizing or expressing doubt about your own position or any of that. Whereas when you're on Twitter, there is a public face to maintain. And so the ego gets involved a ton in public, and the point of conversing in public has nothing, it rarely has anything to do with talking with the person that you're actually trading words with. One of the things I said about debating politics is that you don't argue to convince the person that you're debating with, you argue to convince the people who are watching, because the people who are watching are the ones who are having the internal dialogue that are evaluating both sides. Whereas the person who's on the other side, because it's a public debate, his ego is invested and he can't allow himself or herself to lose public face. And so they will hold on to their position, no matter how wrong it is, almost always. And they will become hardened against your point no matter what. So if you're going to try to convince a person, don't even go on Twitter. If you're going to try to convince a person by talking to them, That's not a Twitter thing. That's a one-on-one type of thing. And I know this because I've had conversation with people on Facebook and in person they'll be totally rational and they'll come over to my side and agree with everything that I say because I'm right. And then we'll get on Facebook and then their idiocy will rise.
You sound like you're talking about someone you know, John.
I am talking about someone that I know.
Here, John.
I'm not going to name names.
Names?
It is not the person who didn't know what a boner was in middle school. It's not him. He is not in this subset of people. You're right there?
Yep. So, you kind of agree with what Marcus Aurelius said, just not with the internet, which wasn't around when he wrote the book.
Well, look, mocking a person when you're on one-on-one. Well, no, because they saw public forums.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what he was talking about.
So if you had a Socratic debate with someone, what I said would apply. Really, it's just the question of whether you're in a public or a private forum. If you're in a private forum where it's you and one other person, or you and there's like a what do you call it? Like a circle of trust going on where the three of you are on the same.
Circle of trust.
And I hate all of you. Anyways,
it's okay.
So if you have this like circle of trust type of deal where you're all being honest and open and willing to self-criticize and be vulnerable in your position, then you can take Marcus Aurelius' advice as it pertains to that. In the public sphere, the point is not convincing the other person. In the public sphere, it is publicly demonstrating that you are right. And in that sense, it doesn't matter whether or not the other person actually accepts. Like, obviously, it's best if they do because that gives you more points. But it has more to do with convincing all the people that are watching rather than the person you're debating with.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Because if you had disagreed with me, you would have been wrong.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
Nope. I have another weird principle.
What's
But
that?
it's not weird. It just, I guess the last part of it will sound possibly hypocritical.
It may be.
I believe that you should respect people, which is the hypocritical part. I don't think, like for
certain
instance,
people you disagree with.
No, I'm getting there. For
Okay.
instance, I don't think what is commonly referred to as swearing or profanity, like saying niggers, fuck, damn, shit, all those words aren't wrong.
You owe me like $20 for the swear jar.
I don't think they're morally wrong.
This is the
I don't
swear
think there's
jar.
any way to
Swear jar right here.
define them as morally wrong, unless you're really concerned about band-aiding people's lives. Get away from me. Here.
Swear jar.
In a way.
Put money in the swear jar.
However, I do know a lot of people who think they're wrong, and therefore I respect it for them. I don't say those words in their presence or try not to. However, but my somewhat hypocritical thing is that I tend to make a lot of jokes and ask a lot of questions about things that could be offensive. And my feeling is that if I respect you and you ask me to stop or give me like the vibe that you want me to stop, I'll stop. But there's people who like I can tell like can't handle something, and for them I don't care at all. Like
You mean people who are not emotionally stable enough to express
Like
themselves
people-
healthily?
okay, I have friends who were in relationship with other friends
So you have
whose
acquaintances.
family. I know both people.
Well,
I know both sides. Okay, person A was in a relationship with person B. I'm closer to person A, and I'll ask person A, not about her ex-boyfriend, person B, but about her new boyfriend, person C, around the parent of person B, and person A decides that that's not a good idea because person B's parents can't handle the fact that they're no longer together. At which point I tell myself, I don't really care. Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. Smooth.
is this Matt?
I don't know that, but if it's you, did you just
Shut up.
think it is. It's still like the mic's still picking us up.
It's because you're talking to it.
No, dude. It's not okay.
Anyways,
That's cleared up.
yes.
I just think, I mean, I get like, here's how I feel. Like, I'll respect, like, if you're still getting over something, and I guess
Okay.
if I know you, but like, there's just some people that's like, I'm not gonna act like something's not happening just because your feelings can't handle it
So in other
after a
words,
certain period of time.
in other words, if the person is making a request in a mature manner, you'll respect it. But if the person is behaving at an emotionally childish level, you are not going to respect that.
No, and I'll probably do the opposite.
You'll just antagonize them.
I won't antagonize them, but I won't like. I don't know. Maybe
You won't take them seriously.
Yeah, like I'll lose respect for people.
Okay.
Yeah. However, what are your principles? I think we've only heard one, which I can't remember because I wasn't paying attention. And I'm really tired.
Self-sufficiency and self-reliance
Yeah.
is one. Brutal intellectual honesty. And this is actually this has actually cost me often in terms of interacting with people because in conversations, I will be like for example, when someone here's an example. I am in choir, and I went and I and two other people have like a trio that we're doing. We got together to practice, and it's me and two girls. And the one girl is like, "Oh my gosh, I suck," and the other girl's like, "Oh, me too." And like as soon as they do that, I know what's going on. Okay, like the one girl's like, "Oh, I'm looking for compliments," and the other girl's like, "Well, I don't want to seem pretentious by looking down on you and saying that I don't, so I do. And also, I could also use a compliment." That's what's going on. But like, they did suck.
So we're like, yep.
So no, I didn't say anything. I was like, we can practice on this part because look, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, you guys are all fine," because I'm not gonna coddle people. They're not my girlfriends. They're not like I'm not in charge of their emotional welfare, right? And we're here to do a job. So from my perspective, I'm not interested in compelling people to behave in a way that is emotionally cheap. Because that's what it is. Compliment fishing is cheap in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to do that. So I probably came off as being a little bit cold, but I was not going to be dishonest and try to get on their good side by lying to them or coddling them. And also, I get in way more Facebook fights than I should.
Really, you?
On politics and other things.
With people who are unreasonable on Facebook, but relatively reasonable?
Yes.
It's a good thing.
Because there are stupid people on the internet, and I need to fix them.
Yeah, how do you know you don't become one of them whenever you go on the internet? I feel like that's what happens. Everyone goes on the internet, and suddenly, like, they act much meaner and stupider.
Well, it's because there's an otherization.
Otherization? Is that a word?
Okay. Like, you ever watch Star Wars? If you watch Star Wars.
What's Star Wars?
I'm gonna murder you. And the opening scene, Star Wars Episode 4, you see this little ship and then this massive friggin' cruiser coming, over the entire camera, just going on and on for miles, chasing down this thing, shoots its engine, right? And then what happens? You see all the rebels prepare, and they get into what is essentially a really, really bad battle formation.
There's no way those stormtroopers would have survived. I don't care. Like, no stormtroopers would have gotten to that goal.
Anyways, so what happens is the rebels, you can all see their face, right? And then the bad guys, the stormtroopers, they look like skeletons. They look like skeletons and are preceded by a giant 6'5" man in black with breathing that makes him sound like a robot. And you would probably not be amiss if in the middle of the theater or in the middle of the movie you leaned over to your friend at that moment and went, I think that's the bad guy. Because he clearly is. So the otherization, and this is actually kind of like a standard movie technique, what we're discussing here, is you can see all the faces of the good guys. They're all individuals. They all have personalities, right? You can see the worry, the excitement, the fear, whatever is going on as they're prepared. But all the bad guys, you don't see their face. They're faceless, non-individual, like they're just some hive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
On an emotional level, they don't matter to you because you can't see their face and they look like skeletons, and yeah. And so what happens is this is kind of what happens when you're on the internet. And I've actually had to point this out to people, like I actually, what I believe is to my credit, I try not to do this to other people. Like I try to take what they're saying under the assumption that they are intelligent people. But I don't know if you noticed, but there is a tremendous lack of good faith when it comes to disagreements on Facebook and Twitter and the online forum.
People just assume you're an idiot.
They assume that you're an idiot or that you're disingenuous.
Yeah.
And I've had to call this people. I've called people out on this where I've said, like, look, you and I have talked in person. You and I have talked on the phone. You and I have, like, sat on a couch right aside from each other and had these intense, deep conversations about the same topics. If somehow we go on the internet and I'm a disingenuous moron. Please think about what you're saying and tell me whether or not that isn't like total bullcrap coming out of your mouth. And I had a couple that are actually like, you know, no, you're right. I'm sorry. That was very presumptive of me. But like it takes this level of like look, you are not giving due diligence to what you're saying.
Well, I think that has to do with the fact that you can't pick up on like tones or facial expressions.
You can't pick up on tones. Well, and you don't see their face. You don't see the person's facial expressions. You can't see their facial expressions or anything. Like you don't even get to see their figure or their outline. If you're on Facebook, all you see is an AVI, which is this tiny little square on the screen.
Yeah.
That's it. And once you start typing, it disappears.
And the problem is people like when people share stuff on Facebook, they're sharing what they believe. And then when they see someone disagree with that, they tend to think that they're attacking them.
Yeah, and there's also
people tend to attack them now. It's like I don't think it used to be that way.
There's also a level of
first started
assumed context that people tend to make, and that's why my Facebook posts end up being like almost full-length novels. Is because when I end up arguing, I'm like, okay, I'm saying this. They're probably going to think this in response, and also now I got to address that and the counter and That's why like my stuff will end up being like 10 paragraphs. Yes.
Too long.
Yes.
Don't need to say paragraphs, just too long.
Excuse me.
You know what your elbow's made for?
It's my room, bitch.
YOLO.
Anyways. All right, so it is getting close to midnight now.
It's actually midnight. I mean, I can stay on if you want to stay on a little bit longer. I don't care.
I have to work in the morning.
You have to get up at like 8 at the latest.
And if I fall asleep now, it's 8 hours of sleep.
I have to get up at like 7.
Then why are you saying?
And then drive for 2 hours. Because I don't need 8 hours of sleep.
No, you're just going to go drive for 2 hours straight on a highway with other people with not enough sleep. Because that's a smart thing to do.
The human body doesn't require as much sleep as we give it.
No, that's right. You should just do 10 minutes. My bad.
Obviously, that's not what I meant. But way to what's that called? Crap. Hyper exaggerate. Hyperbolize. Takapa.
That actually is a policeman driving away.
Actually, referring to what you were saying, I do respect whenever you're like, I'm reading because I get bored with videos, just like a comment thread on YouTube. And there's just one guy who's like, I'm gonna bring some sense to all this and be like, yeah, this is why you're being a total idiot. And now I'm leaving. Goodbye.
And then this guy's like, don't be a fag. You're totally wrong. Okay.
Well, actually, no one was the one I'm specifically talking about. No one responded to him. I was like,
well, because
surprised.
people don't know. This is because people would prefer to respond to things that are easier to respond to.
Like this like angry high schooler was talking about how, I think the comment was about how why men are attracted to boobs. And he was trying to do some evolutionist thing on why men are attracted to boobs. And then this guy comes in, and I can't remember exactly what he says, but I just know like he worded it very intelligently and like non-aggressively, and was like, look, you're like making a whole ton of assumptions that you can't really assume. Like, first of all, that evolution is proven fact, which it's not. It's a theory. And I was like, I like this guy.
Well, see, here's okay. Quick aside, and then we're ending this podcast. The problem that I have with the whole current view, the way people treat evolution right now, is that someone will discover some trait about the human body and be like, "Oh my God, look how awesome evolution is! Isn't it wonderful?" Like, for example, scientists determined that when your fingers get all pruny after being submerged in water after a while, it actually serves a purpose because your fingers, when they're pruny and wet, have better grip than when your fingers are not pruny and wet. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, evolution is amazing! Look what evolution did! It's evolution! Look at this proof for evolution!" I'm sitting here like, look, from a philosophical standpoint, this neither gives weight to or against evolution, nor to or against any religious interpretation of the world as it is.
Well, evolution doesn't. I mean, evolution would affect philosophy, obviously, but it doesn't actually affect whether or not there was a God.
From a logical standpoint. But from a logical standpoint, I could say it doesn't even affect evolution. All it's saying is that this character trait, which appears under these conditions, are suited to these conditions. That's all that's being said.
Yeah.
And apparently, evolution. We should talk about how great evolution is. I'm like, no. I mean, like, look, religious people can turn around and say, "Oh no, this is also an example of God making the body in the way that it is." So for you to sit there and go, "Evolution is about evolution," and I know I'm hyperbolizing a little bit, but I watch so many videos, every freaking video. I swear, every single one. And I watched probably caught about 10 or 15 by the time the whole craze settled down. Not one failed to bring up evolution. I'm sitting here like, you do understand the difference. Like it's great that you believe in evolution, but like don't drag shit into it.
Yeah.
It's like be like an astrophysicist trying to comment on an earthquake. Like, no, you don't get to bring that shit from here over to here. Like this is this part of the science, this is that part of the science, and the two shall not meet.
Well, it's like, I mean, my problem is evolutionists who claim that they disprove God with evolution, and then go on to claim that alien lives put the first cell on planet Earth, without ever seeming to consider the fact that if evolution caused our lives after a cell was placed on the planet by aliens, how did the alien life get there?
Right.
It's actually more logical to assume that a being or something outside of the universe created the universe if it had a start.
Well, it's got a philosophical flaw. Actually, you know what's kind of funny to me is there's a theory that's out, and it's not the most popular one, but there's a theory out that the way humans are actually self-caused, in the sense that humans exist today because humans from the future traveled back in time and created the first cells. And literally, it's just a self-creation loop.
And they didn't send any info back like, "Hey, don't let Hitler fail art school."
Well, no, because in order for the future to exist as it is, Hitler has to have failed art school.
That's so selfish, though. Like, why not make it better?
But you don't know if it's better.
True.
Not unless you
without
can,
Hitler, we would never know the full extent of evolution has on philosophic
philosophy.
ventures. Whoa, getting all crazy up in here.
But no, okay. So, for example, multi-universe theory or parallel universes. In order for you to know that Hitler was better, or that it would be better without Hitler, you would have to visit at least a large percentage of the parallel universes where Hitler did get into art school or simply wasn't born or what have you, and see what happened there.
Parallel universes are real.
If they're real, yes. I mean, basically, that's what. Right now, the current theory for one of the more popular theories for evolution, for this whole branch or this direction of science, is basically, quote, we believe in parallel universes because it makes it really easy for us to explain away the incredibly small, infinitesimal chance that we came to this space that we are right now purely by accident on a single stroke.
So basically, not that the chances are so small, it's just that everything that could have happened
basically in order, not even if you ignore like the specifics of right now as it exists, like, the chances of us hitting this moment in time with you and me sitting here on this couch is exactly like 1 over infinity. That's the percent chance. It's literally impossible. But if you take things on a broader range, for example, the Earth having a planet of Earth size with the correct distance between it and a medium-sized sun, with a lower than average number of solar flares and other atmospheric disruptions, occurring on the outer edge of a spiral galaxy, which is kind of like the best chances of life being able to form, and then the proper atmospheric conditions forming for life to have formed, and getting up to there, even up to those basics, the chances on a dice roll, if you will, of this happening, and also including stuff like the speed of light having to be what it is, gravitational constants, like all these things, is so infinitesimally small that it pretty much is 1 over infinity anyways. So the only way to get around that, and to say, in other words, the only way to look at that and not come to the conclusion of, okay, this has got to be rigged somehow, is to then say, okay, well, the only way we can get around this is let's just make an infinite number of worlds so that the chances of us being here in this moment now basically approaches 1 without a God.
Actually, I mean, not necessarily going off that, but another point is that according to Dinesh D'Souza in his book, What Makes Christianity Great, I think that's the title, he makes the point that the reason science flourished in the Western world was because, unlike the Eastern world, the Western world believed in a God, and not just a God, but the Christian God, and a set rule of principles, and believed that the universe acted in a set way.
Well, there's a couple things. That's part of it.
I'm not saying that's the only thing, but the reason it didn't flourish in the East was because they didn't believe in that. Was his argument. But then I was listening to again TEDx talk. Titled "The Banned TEDx Talk," and it's about the scientist. Not
it
sure
should have been banned.
How he is, but he's talking about assumptions that scientists make, and whether or not he's considered a crock by other scientists. He does make a valid point that, I mean, the scientists assume that laws are laws, but if the world is set up solely and the only law, and evolution is law, then how can you assume that the universe itself doesn't change laws over time? If the whole basis of the universe and existence is evolution.
I mean, I don't think you're going to get anyone with that point.
Probably not, but I think it's a valid question.
I mean, the question of whether or not laws change would really depend on whether or not the laws are static. I mean, that's all you're saying. It's like, how do you know the laws aren't static? We
Yeah,
would just basically look and say, well, have the laws changed recently? No. What about 100 years ago? No. Well, what about 1,000 years ago?
Well, that's
No.
the thing. Has mankind changed recently? No. What about 100 years ago? No.
You're aware of the difference between evolution of the biological type versus like physical laws, which are unrelated to biology.
I'm saying that there has to be a law and order to the universe.
Yeah.
And like evolution doesn't like it's like evolution it seems to me like evolutionists say that there's law and order to everything in the universe except for how life came to be. And it's like one of the most complex things in the universe.
Right.
Which doesn't make sense to me. How this one thing isn't like how it's first of all not happening in our world. I mean, theoretically, if there are other worlds with life, it could be happening if it were true. But it's not happening now. We have never seen a case where it's happened, except for microevolution, not macro. There's not really a set guidance to it, except that the stronger, better things survive. And that's what they base their worldview on. And to me, that doesn't seem to go along with what we know about how the universe works, which is a guided, law-abiding universe. Even the law of entropy is guided. It's not just a random law.
You're kind of cross-contaminating a couple issues between philosophy and biology and physics. So on the one half, you're kind of right, but on the other half, you're kind of not making a point, in my personal view.
I'm not trying to make a point. I'm trying to ask a question.
I don't know what your question was.
To make a question.
That wasn't a question.
I don't know. I'm still figuring it out.
Question to make it. It makes no sense.
You know, you said you talk in order to figure things out. That's what I'm doing right now.
Sometimes I don't even know what
I don't know what I mean until I say it.
Oh, that was so stupid.
I didn't know I was going to call that man.
That was a Martin Lawrence movie.
It's like I didn't know I was racist until I called that man a nigger. So
that we're not.
Wow. That actually would be hilarious in a movie. I'm not gonna lie. How awesome would that?
I just want to see someone now go up in front of a judge because like they're getting accused of like sexual harassment or something, and just be like, Your Honor, I didn't know I was a sexist bigot until I called her a bitch.
Your Honor, I didn't know I was even attracted to women until I had sex with them. I wanted to figure that out.
Okay, so, oh my gosh. Okay, we're
done.
I'm gonna call quits right now because I need to sleep, and also words.
What words? I like how the only like actual word I've used in conversation that would be considered bad, like in actual conversation, is the word nigger. I just went in with the worst one.
You're not a real person, Joseph. I just want you to know.
Yes, I am.
You've been banned, I say.
We have one viewer.
Well, don't scare him away. Get out. Goodbye.